Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be restoring this vintage Real Ghostbusters X Cop. Now, I was given this figure fairly recently, and on initial inspection you sort of see him and you think, oh, actually he doesn't look too bad at all, but if we turn him around you can see how much paint damage he has. So that's the main thing we need to sort out, is getting all of that paint fixed up. He's also got very floppy limbs, generally just needs a bit of TLC. So let's get this project started. Okay, so here is X Cop in all his glories. You can see he's not looking too bad if we look at the front. He's got some sort of minor paint wear on the sort of front of his belt and on the side here and on the front of his hat. But if we turn him over, you can see that pretty much all the paint on the back of him has been damaged in some way. I'm guessing that's because children sort of press the back and press the button to make him turn into his skeleton mode. If we do that, we can see we can pull all of that out and pull his arms out. Everything does seem to work on him. He's just very battered. So the main thing we need to do is to sort out the paint on him. And normally I would use acrylics to sort of paint little patches, but as this is such a large area, I think I'm actually going to have to respray this using some rattle cans. It shouldn't be too hard to do. We just need to mask off all of the bits we don't want painted, and I think we'll get a reasonable result. So it's going to be a little bit more work than I would normally do, because masking off takes some time and there's a lot of areas to mask off, but it certainly can be done. He's also got very floppy arms. You can see here that his arms won't stay upright, so we need to fix that. But that's a fairly straightforward thing to do. We'll do at the end, but initially let's sort out the paint. So yeah, as I say, the first thing we've got to do is to mask everything off. To start, I'm going to paint the black areas, which is the predominant problem on this figure. So you can see all of this black needs fixing, but I've got to mask off the bits I don't want to paint. So I've got a couple of different bits of masking tape here. I've got some 3mm modelling masking tape for doing the sort of fine detail stuff, and I've just got some off-the-shelf stuff that I bought from the DIY store, where I can sort of block out big areas, because these arms don't need painting, most of the trousers don't need painting. I don't want to paint these sort of white bone parts here, but I do need to paint the boots. So I'm really just going to get sort of masking and see what areas I can cover. There may be a few little pieces like these little marks on the hat that I don't bother spray painting. I will do those with the sort of acrylic paint afterwards, but I'm going to work that out as I go. But predominantly I want to paint like all of this area. Might as well do all of the trousers, so I've got to mask off all of this part and the boots. So yeah, a lot of masking needs to be done. Let's just get started with it. Okay, so it's now about 15 minutes later, and as you can see, I've got it all masked off. I've left just the areas that I want to paint, and everything else has been masked away. The only bit I haven't done is that button there. That isn't painted, but it's black, so it shouldn't matter anyway if it gets a bit of black paint on it. But I've even done the back of the neck and all around the face. Yeah, it's going to be a fairly awkward thing to spray as well, just because there's so many sort of funny little pieces. So I'm going to have to sort of hold it and spray around and, yeah, get all the bits covered that I need. It may take a few coats, and hopefully I've masked everything neatly. Once this first layer is done, I can then take all of the masking off and we'll touch up the final little bits by hand. As you see, I have completely covered the helmet here, even though I know there's some black on the front, but I'm going to touch that bit up by hand. And we've got to repair his face and some other pieces. I'm going to use a satin black car spray to paint this. And then once I'm sort of done all of the painting, I will then put a clear semi-gloss coat over the top of everything. But for now, let's get this satin black paint on and see how much of a difference it makes.
Toy-polloi. That is incorrect. Try again.
Right, back from being sprayed. So you can see the satin black has gone on really quite nice. It appears to have covered everything. So now we need to test whether my masking was any good. And this is the fun bit, because we get to remove all of the tape that we've just put on and see these hopefully satisfying results. So let's remove all the tape and see what it looks like underneath. And there we go, that's all the tape off, and I am really very pleased with how that's come out. There were a few minor areas where the paint had got where it didn't want to be, so I've just removed that. There's a little bit on the back side there, so just a little bit of lighter fluid and a tissue just while the paint is still not fully set. And that's looking really good. You can see I've masked off all of the hairline there. So if I turn it over and we open up the chest, you can see I masked off all of that and there's no paint on there at all. It's looking really nice. So I've got a few little bits to touch up by hand, which are the areas around here on the helmet, and there's also quite a nasty chip on his nose. So I'm just going to get some acrylic paints out and get those painted, and then I'm going to give everything a clear coat. It looks like I could do with doing a bit of silver on the belt buckle, but considering how sort of rough he looked when he started, this is looking really nice. It was worth the effort of masking everything off. So anyway, let's get the paints out and we'll just do those final little touch-ups. Okay, so here are the paints that I'm going to use to touch up the final few bits. You can see we've got a little bit of silver that's worn on this belt buckle and also on his sort of visor or glasses there. So I'm going to be using a silver Sharpie to deal with that. That should work quite nicely. For the little paint chips on his helmet there, I'm going to be using some flat black paint. This is model colour number 70.950. It's a Vallejo paint that finishes in a matte. So again, once we put the clear top coat on, that will hide the fact that the two paints have a different sort of finish. And then I've got a flesh colour, which is, this is some Revel aqua colour, just because I couldn't buy my normal sort of flesh coloured paint. This is number, what does it say, 35. That mixed with a little bit of white, I should be able to get a paint colour that matches that. So just a few minor touches, and then we can sort out putting a top coat on. But overall, as I showed, I'm really very happy with how this is already looking. Now that's all done, he is looking really very nice. You can see I've got the right sort of shine on the matte paint that I put on the front there. Adding that top coat just sort of finishes everything off nicely, and you can see he does look very nice indeed. The last thing we need to do is to sort out these really loose arms, and that's a fairly straightforward job. All you need is some darning elastic. This is very thin elastic. I've got it in black here. I'm going to take a small amount of this and wrap it around the joint and then sort of tie it off, and it will be hidden away inside the joint, and the arm will be nice and stiff again. So I've got to do this for both arms. So I'm just going to hold the end of the darning elastic there, and then I can wrap this around the joint just a few times like so, and you'll immediately see that the arm is now stiff and doesn't rotate freely anymore. It's got a little bit of sort of bit of friction to it. So I can then just tie these two ends together and cut that off and do the same on the other side, and that's that job done. And there we go, that is it for this project. I've taken what was a very battered and well played with X Cop Ghost from the Real Ghostbusters and turned it into something that is very displayable again. So if we take a look at him, you can see here, this is how he now looks. All the paint has been repaired and he's looking almost brand new, I would say. There's almost no sort of damage to him at all. The back has really come out very nicely. If I show you a picture of how he was when we originally started on this project, you can see that he was really very worn indeed, and he's just looking a whole lot nicer. Let's transform him into the ghost. So if I press the button on the back, his body flips down, we can pull his legs out, and then we can pull his arms out. We now have him in full sort of ghost skeleton mode. I really think it's quite a nice figure. It's such a sort of simple idea, but it worked particularly well. And it's a nice figure that I can now put back in my Real Ghostbusters collection. So I do need to say a big thank you to Michael, who very kindly gave me this figure. It's been a real fun project, so thanks for sending that over. If you've enjoyed this video, then why not check out some of my other Real Ghostbusters projects, and make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And in today's video, we're going to be looking at restoring this vintage Real Ghostbusters X Cop from Kenner. Now, this figure I was given fairly recently, and he's looking actually not too bad when you look at him from the front. But if we turn him around, you can see there's rather a lot of paint damage. Oh, Winston.